The trial of Earth's last soldier. The hall was silent. Giant alien eyes stared down at the center of the courtroom. Above, strange lights floated in the air, shifting colors like a living storm. This was not Earth. This was the capital planet of the Galactic Union, a place where no human had ever stood before, until now. In the center stood a man. He wore a torn uniform, its colors faded. Blood, dry and cracked, marked the edges of his sleeves. His hands were chained, his eyes sharp. He was tall by alien standards, but looked small in that giant room filled with hundreds of alien leaders, generals, and spectators. His name was Captain Raynor Kane, Earth's last soldier. A deep, echoing voice spoke from the high chair above. The judge, an old creature with 6 arms and eyes like burning coals, leaned forward. "You are charged with crimes against the Galactic Empire, destruction of ships, murder of soldiers, spreading rebellion." Raynor said nothing. A loud alien laughed. Its voice was sharp, metallic. "He's just a human, a savage. Let him speak. Let us hear how sorry he is." Others joined in, their laughter strange and cruel. Raynor looked around slowly. He saw creatures of every kind. Tall beings made of crystal, floating jellyfish-like, forms glowing with electric light, thick, armored aliens with eyes hidden behind steel masks. All of them looked at him like he was already dead. But Raynor stood straight, calm, silent. A screen lit up behind him. A video played. It showed Earth, his home. First, the cities. New York, London, Mumbai. Peaceful, alive. Then came the war. Giant alien ships in the sky. Fire raining down. Buildings breaking. People running. The last scene was the worst. Earth, from space, burning. Then gone. Gasps filled the hall. Some aliens smiled. "This is your legacy," the judge said. "Your species is no more. Your planet is dust, and yet you fight. Why?" Raynor raised his head slowly. He spoke for the first time. His voice was quiet but clear. "Because I'm still here." The room fell silent. The judge narrowed his eyes. "Do you not feel shame, human? Your kind lost. We offered peace. Your leaders refused." Raynor looked at the screen again, at the burning blue planet. That wasn't peace. That was surrender. The judge slammed a metal hammer. "You are not here to speak of politics. You are here to face judgment." One of the alien generals leaned forward. "Why didn't you die with the rest of them?" Raynor's eyes locked onto his. "Because someone had to remember." The crowd shifted. Whispers echoed. The laughter stopped. The judge spoke again. "Your final punishment will be decided tomorrow. Until then, you remain in chains. Take him away." 2 guards grabbed him, tall, bug-like creatures with hard shells. They pushed him forward. As he walked out of the courtroom, Raynor saw a group of young alien cadets standing near the exit. They looked at him with disgust. One of them spit at his boots. "You lost," the alien said. "You're just a relic." Raynor looked at him and smiled. "We'll see." The door closed behind him. Deep inside the prison, Raynor sat alone in his cell. The walls were made of living metal, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. There were no windows, no time, only silence. He closed his eyes. Memories came. His team. The last mission. The ship crashing. The ground shaking. The sky turning black. Screams, gunfire, then silence. He had survived. Captured. Beaten. Humiliated. Displayed like a trophy. But he had waited. Watched. Learned. They thought he was broken. They thought he was defeated. But Captain Raynor Kane had one thing left. Hope. And something else. A plan. Outside, his cell, a small drone hovered past. It made a soft beep. Almost nothing. But Raynor opened his eyes and smiled. Someone was listening. Someone on the inside. What they did to Earth. The lights in the cell dimmed again. Time passed differently here. Maybe hours, maybe days. Captain Raynor Kane had stopped counting. He sat still, his back straight against the cold wall. The alien chains around his wrists were tight, humming with energy that burned his skin if he moved too fast. He didn't mind. Pain reminded him he was still alive. He wasn't supposed to be. Earth was gone, and they made sure he knew it. That morning, the guards came without a word. Taller than him, skin like black glass, eyes that blinked, sideways. They pulled him out of his cell and dragged him through long metal halls. Everything on this ship was cold, clean, lifeless, like the Empire itself. They stopped at a door with no handle. It slid open with a hiss. Inside was a small room, empty, except for a single screen in the center. A general waited there, an alien named Vectar, High Commander of the Galactic Forces. His armor shined like silver blood. A dozen medals hung from his chest like trophies. He smiled without warmth. "Sit, human." Raynor didn't move. The guards forced him down onto a metal chair. They locked him in place. Vectar walked slowly around him. "I want you to see what you failed to protect," the alien said. The screen turned on. First, silence. Then, Earth. Not just a picture, a live broadcast. From orbit. Raynor's breath caught in his throat. He saw clouds, oceans, green land, cities glowing like fireflies at night. "This recording is from the final hour," Vectar said. "The day your world ended." The feed zoomed in. Giant ships, black and smooth, floated above the planet like shadows. They didn't shoot lasers. They dropped something else. Pulse bombs. Raynor remembered them. He had seen the blue light from afar. Weapons that didn't just kill, they erased. Whole buildings vanished in seconds. Cities gone without fire. No smoke, no dust, just silence. The screen showed Paris, gone in one pulse. Then Cairo, then Rio, then Beijing. No warnings, no survivors. Raynor's jaw tightened. His fists shook against the chains. Vectar circled him again. "Your leaders could have stopped this. They refused peace." "You never offered peace," Raynor said, his voice sharp, steady. "You offered chains." Vectar laughed. "You humans never understood your place." He pressed a button. The screen shifted to something else. Small girl, maybe 10 years old, dirty face, crying in the ruins of a street. Alone. Raynor's heart stopped. "Do you know her?" Vectar asked. He did. His niece. Her name was Sophie. He had last seen her the night before the invasion. Vectar zoomed in. She didn't make it. The building behind her collapsed, crushed her, like so many others. The screen turned black. Raynor sat still, breathing heavy, eyes full of fury, but no tears. Vectar leaned close. "This is what your stubbornness cost you, and you still fight." "For what?" Raynor didn't speak. "We destroyed your armies, your cities, your future, your very sky," Vectar whispered. "Yet you survived, like a bug. Do you want revenge, soldier? Is that it?" Raynor looked up, eyes like stone. "No," he said. "I want justice." Vectar frowned. Raynor smiled, just a little. "You thought killing a planet was the end," he said. "But Earth was never just a place." Vectar stepped back. It was an idea, a memory, and you can't burn that. Later, back in his cell, Raynor stared at the wall. His niece's face wouldn't leave his mind. Her laugh, the way she held his hand, her questions about the stars. He had promised to take her to space one day. Now she was part of the ashes. But ashes could be used for something else. To light a fire. Somewhere outside the prison, in a secret part of the Empire, messages were moving, hidden frequencies. Short, quiet signals bouncing through the black of space. Raynor's escape wasn't just an idea anymore. It was moving. A plan was growing. And this time, he wouldn't just survive. He would strike back. Not as a soldier, as a symbol. Escape from the chains. The cell was colder than usual. Captain Raynor Kane opened his eyes, slow and silent. The humming sound of alien tech still buzzed in the walls, but something was different. There was no guard outside his door. No footsteps, no alarms, only silence. And in a prison this big, silence was a warning. Earlier that day they had tried again. More questions, more threats. Another general in another room asking the same thing. Where are the others? Where is the resistance? Raynor gave them nothing, no names, no lies, just silence. But as they dragged him back to his cell, he had noticed something. A small mark on the floor. A code, almost invisible, shaped like the constellation Orion, Earth's old military symbol. Someone had been there. Someone was close. Now, back in the dark, something beeped, soft like a whisper. He looked up. One of the ceiling vents glowed faint green. Not alien color. Human color. Then it popped open. Slowly. No sound. And from it dropped a tiny black device, no bigger than a coin. It rolled across the floor and stopped in front of Raynor. He stared at it. It blinked twice. Then 3 words appeared, glowing faintly. Stand by. 10 seconds. Raynor didn't move, didn't breathe. He counted. 10, 9, 8, 7. Then, boom. Not loud, not dramatic, but sharp. Something in the walls popped. The energy chains around his wrists flickered. Once, twice, then broke, just like that. Raynor stood, slowly, carefully. He hadn't stood without chains in months. His muscles ached, but his eyes were alive. On the floor, the black device blinked again. Move now. He didn't wait. Outside his cell, the hall lights flickered. Sparks fell from the ceiling. He crept forward, barefoot, quiet like a ghost. No guards yet. Just empty walls and open doors. Then he saw it. A body. A guard. Slumped against the wall. Stunned. On his armor, another mark. Scratched into the chest plate. A lightning bolt. The symbol of the Earth Shadow Ops. Raynor smiled. You're late, he whispered. He moved through the halls like water, sliding behind machines, crawling through vents, taking weapons from fallen guards, a blade, a blaster. One by one. Every turn had risk. Twice he had to freeze as alien patrols passed. Their voices strange, distorted, speaking fast. Containment breach in Sector 4. How did he escape? Human tech must be involved. They were afraid, and that gave him strength. His goal wasn't just freedom. It was the main control room, deep in the center of the prison station. If he reached it, he could disable the security systems, maybe even send a message out, a signal, to whoever was listening in the dark. But then it happened. A siren, high-pitched, sharp, like metal screaming. They knew, and they were coming. Raynor sprinted down the corridor. Alarms flashed. Doors began to shut behind him. Too fast. He dove through one just before it slammed shut, rolled, and landed on his feet. Ahead, 2 guards. They raised their weapons. He threw his blade, straight into the throat of one. The other, fired, missed. Then screamed as Raynor charged and tackled him, smashing his head against the wall. No time to rest. He grabbed the blaster and ran. Finally, he reached the control room. A giant round chamber filled with glowing panels, floating, symbols and strange alien letters. In the center was a console, locked with alien tech. But Raynor wasn't alone. A figure stepped from the shadows. Not human, but close. Slim, tall, gray skin, large eyes filled with fear and respect. You don't know me, she said. But I served with the Terran Resistance. I was there when they fell. My name is XL. Raynor nodded once. You helped me escape? She nodded. We don't have time. Once you send your signal, they'll flood this room. Raynor stepped to the console. Then let's make it count. He placed the coin-sized device on the controls. It glowed, hacking the system in seconds. Screens changed. Maps appeared. Communication lines opened, and a signal was sent. Simple, Clear. The last soldier lives. Earth fights on. Outside, the sound of boots grew louder. Weapons charging. XL looked at Raynor. They're coming. He loaded the blaster, stood straight back to the console. Good, he said. Let them come. The plan to strike backspace was dark, not the quiet, peaceful kind. This was a heavy darkness, the kind that pressed on your chest, the kind that felt like something was watching. Somewhere inside that dark, a stolen alien shuttle drifted without light, without a signal, invisible to Empire sensors. Inside it, Captain Raynor Kane stood over a table made from broken steel. Next to him, XL, the alien rebel who helped him escape, worked quickly, rewiring a damaged communicator with pieces of stolen tech. The room was small. The air was cold. The lights flickered, but for the first time in months, Raynor wasn't in chains. They were hiding in the shattered belt, a zone of destroyed moons and asteroid wrecks. No Empire patrols came here. The place was filled with radiation and ghosts, perfect for planning a war. Raynor looked at the map floating in the air above the table. The Empire's worlds blinked in red, thousands of them, each one defended by fleets, energy shields, and orbital cannons. He had one ship, no army, no planet, no backup. But he had something the Empire didn't, a reason. XL tapped the map. A system blinked green. This is our target, she said. Vectar's personal weapons vault, deep inside the old mining world of Dravos 7. Raynor raised an eyebrow. He keeps it there? Hidden from the High Council? Full of banned tech, dangerous stuff. Perfect. They had no time to waste. Every moment they stayed hidden, the Empire hunted harder. Messages were being intercepted. Prices were placed on Raynor's head. Some even said he was a myth. Others knew better, especially the ones who'd seen what he did to the prison. 1 week later, they landed on Dravos 7, a dead world. Gray skies, ash storms, machines buried in the ground like bones. XL led him through the tunnels, old mining shafts filled with dust and broken androids. The place was supposed to be abandoned. It wasn't. Wait, she whispered. Head, a patrol. Empire troops. Not many, but enough to kill them both if they made a sound. Raynor looked around, spotted a rusted pipe. 3 seconds later, the guard's helmet cracked open, metal echoing against rock. The others didn't even scream before the shadows swallowed them. Finally, they reached the vault. Raynor looked at the door. How long to break it? XL didn't answer. Instead, she pulled a small cube from her jacket and tossed it at the door. It exploded without fire, just light. The door melted inward. Inside the vault were weapons, old, powerful, forbidden. One looked like a cannon made from bones. Another floated, in the air, humming with a strange energy that made his skin crawl. But Raynor's eyes locked on something else. A box. Small. Black. Marked with a symbol he hadn't seen since his first year in Earth's military, Project Revenant. Classified. Erased from history. No one even knew if it was real. Open it, he said. XL did. Inside was a device. Smooth, silver, shaped like a heart, a memory drive. Raynor plugged it into the ship's console. A hologram played. It showed Earth's top generals speaking to the camera. If you're watching this, one said, Earth has fallen, and we have failed. But if any of our soldiers survive, this is our last gift, our last weapon. Not a bomb, not a fleet. Something better. The image shifted. Thousands of blueprints, codes, designs, tactics, everything the Empire feared. A plan to break them from the inside. Raynor stared at it. This changes everything, XL whispered. No, he said. This ends everything. That night on the ship, they sent out the first message, encrypted. Short, simple, to all survivors, to all rebels, to all who still remember Earth. We have a weapon. We have a plan. Join us. The galaxy wouldn't hear it, but the right people would. On a cold moon far away, an old pilot received the signal. In a junkyard station, a cyber mercenary smiled when the words reached her screen. In the deep mines of a slave planet, a young alien child repeated the message in whispers, like a prayer. Earth fights on. Meanwhile, back on the Empire capital, Vector watched the chaos spread. His ships were being hit. His secrets were leaking. His control was breaking. And somewhere deep inside, fear began to grow. Because he knew what Raynor had found. And he knew what was coming next. One ship versus the Empire space lit up like a storm. A single ship broke through the edge of the Empire's outer defense ring. It wasn't large, it wasn't fast, and it didn't match any known fleet signature. But inside, it was Raynor Kane, the last soldier of Earth, and behind him, a fire that no star could burn out. The Empire didn't know it yet, but their war had just restarted. The ship was stolen, patched together with scraps, old Terran engines, and pieces of alien tech glued in place with rebellion and hope. It had no name, but its core beat like a war drum. Next to Raynor in the cockpit sat Exel, her hands flying across the controls. "We're in," she said, "but we have maybe 6 minutes before the scanners catch up." "We only need 3, Raynor replied. Their target was floating ahead, the Empire data relay hub orbiting the gas planet Beldra 9, not a military base, not a weapons depot, something more dangerous, a truth vault. Inside it, the Empire stored real records. Not the edited versions they showed the galaxy, real war crimes, real histories, the lies that held their power together. If that data went public, systems would rebel, alliances would collapse, and that's why Raynor chose it. This wasn't just an attack. This was a message. Inside the hub, the alarms began to scream. Unidentified ship approaching. Shields activating. Ready interceptors. Commander Zorla stood on the deck, calm and confident. "Shoot it down," he said. The soldiers obeyed. But Raynor was ready. "Now," he said. Xel flipped the switch. A blinding burst of electromagnetic static exploded from their ship. For 3 seconds, every system on the relay hub flickered. Just enough. Raynor fired. Not missiles. Not lasers. He launched a drone swarm, each, one carrying hacking software from Earth's lost war labs. They didn't need to destroy the station. They just needed to open a door. Inside the relay, panic spread. Systems breached. Files are copying, externally. Whoever it is, they're downloading everything. Commander Zorla froze. How? Who the hell? The main screen blinked, and a face appeared, dirty, scarred, human. Raynor Kane, you erased. "My world," he said, voice calm. "But now the galaxy will see what you really are." Zorla shouted, "Kill him!" But it was too late. On thousands of screens across neutral space, pirate stations, black markets, and silent colonies, the files began to appear. Images, footage, documents, proof, planetary bombings, forced extinctions, secret labs, genocide reports. People watched in silence. Then they started to speak, and when they spoke, they screamed. Back in orbit, Raynor's ship turned to escape, but the Empire wasn't done. 6 cruisers dropped from warp around him, each one 20 times the size of his ship, each one armed. "They're locking on," Xel said. "We won't outrun them." Raynor nodded. "Then we won't run." He punched a button on the side console. The ship's core began to glow. Not with fire, but with something older. Something banned. "Is that?" Xel's voice trembled. Raynor didn't answer. They'd stolen it from Vector's secret vault in Part 4. A quantum ripple bomb. Not built to destroy ships, built to bend reality for 0.7 seconds, enough time to move without moving, to be seen in one place and land in another. He gripped the controls. "Ready?" Exel grinned. "Always." He hit the trigger. The world bent. The stars twisted. Time blurred, and then silence. They were gone, and the Empire's fleet was firing at nothing. 5 hours later, In the shadows of a junk moon, the ship reappeared. Systems damaged, hull scorched, but alive. Raynor looked at Zell. It worked, she laughed. You're insane, he smiled. No, I'm angry. Across the galaxy, rebellion woke up. On a mining colony, slaves grabbed weapons and whispered, Earth lives. On a forgotten moon, a mercenary painted Raynor's face on a wall with the words, The ghost fights back. In the Capitol throne chamber, Vekatar watched the chaos with a shaking hand. He turned to his guards. Find him. Burn every system he hides in. Erase the myth. Now. But deep down, he knew it was already too late. They begged for mercy. Space was burning. Not from suns, not from warships, but from truth. After the relay station attack, the Empire's secrets were no longer secrets. The crimes, the betrayals, the genocide, the lies. Worlds that had once bowed in fear were now rising in rage. And at the center of it all, like a ghost walking through fire, was one man, Captain Raynor Kane, in a forgotten part of the galaxy. A once loyal Empire world named Droska 5 fell silent. No trade, no ships, no answers. The High Command thought it was a rebellion. They sent a fleet. What they found was worse. The Admiral's ship landed in the capital city. Not a shot was fired. Not a voice was raised. But when they stepped outside, they saw it. Every screen, every billboard, every public speaker played the same message. A human face. Scarred. Cold. Raynor. He didn't speak. He didn't need to. Behind him, scenes of Empire war crimes rolled in silence, and below the image, glowing red. Justice comes. The Admiral gave the order. Pull back. His officers asked, why? They didn't even resist. He said, they don't have to. In secret meetings, the Empire's elite began to panic. Vektar, once the proud warlord who destroyed Earth, now slept behind energy shields and poison sensors. He had seen the recordings, stations vanishing, commanders going missing, silent fleets refusing orders. The myth was growing faster than he could stop it. Then came the night of the Crimson Sky. A high-ranking diplomat's cruiser exploded while landing on Zorath Prime. They found only one thing in the wreckage, a tag, simple, scratched metal, the kind used by human soldiers a century ago. On it, the words, for Sophie. Meanwhile, Raynor moved through shadows, not with armies, not with ships, but with stories, whispers in black markets, codes hidden in cargo crates, messages on the backs of stolen credits. He's coming. He never left. He sees everything. In the deep mines of Volcris, a slaver screamed for mercy as his camp burned. A single man had walked in alone. None of his guards had returned. The only thing left was a symbol carved into the wall. The symbol of Earth. Xel watched from the ship as message after message returned to them. Entire systems now refused to fly the Empire's flag. Cargo ships renamed themselves Remnant of Terra. Old resistance cells, once broken, had begun to rebuild under a new name, the Flame of Earth. And still, Raynor didn't claim power. He didn't speak. He just struck and vanished. But everything changed on Kaldor 6, a core planet, well-defended, rich, untouchable, until the night the skies turned red. 3 Empire towers fell in 1 hour, their AI cores stolen, their command logs wiped. When soldiers arrived, they found no dead, just the guards, tied, unconscious, and a message burned into the landing pad. Mercy. For the people. None for the powerful. Vektar finally spoke to the High Council. His voice was tired. Broken. We have created our own weapon. We gave him pain. And now he gives it back. They asked, what do you suggest? Vektar whispered a beg. A message was sent. Encrypted. Desperate. Offering surrender. Offering truce. Offering peace. It reached Raynor's ship as he floated near a dead moon, watching stars through broken glass. Xel read the message aloud. They want to meet. They'll admit their crimes. They'll pull their fleets. They want to talk. Rayner didn't answer. She looked at him. What will you say? He stood up, eyes calm. I'll go. Alone? Yes. The meeting place was a floating station called Solence.Neutral. Ground, guarded, sacred. Rayner walked in without armor, no weapons, just his presence. Vectar was already there. Older, paler, hands shaking. They sat across from each other. Silence filled the room. Then, Vectar spoke. I was wrong. Rayner said nothing. Earth should have been spared. Still nothing. Vectar looked down, ashamed. You've already won. Rayner leaned forward. No, I haven't. Vectar looked up, confused. Rayner's voice was cold. I'll win the day you beg, not for your life, but for your soul. And that night the Empire's highest general, once proud, once cruel, fell to his knees. Not from pain, but from guilt. And the galaxy watched. Humanity's flame. Still burns. A long time had passed, but the galaxy hadn't forgotten. Not the fire, not the fear, not the man who walked alone, dragging justice behind him like a blade made of memory. Rayner Kane had vanished. No one saw him after. The meeting on Solence, no cameras, no signals, not even XL. Some believed he died. Others said he returned to the ashes of Earth. Some whispered he became something else, not just human anymore, but something more. But what mattered most wasn't whether he lived. It was that his fire did. 5 years later, in the orbit of a distant, empty star, a ship arrived. Old, scratched, flying under no banner. On board were engineers, scientists, farmers, and families, human and alien together. They called themselves the Founders. They landed on a green world, untouched by Empire hands. They stepped onto soil and said just 2 words. New. Earth. It wasn't perfect. The storms were wild. The terrain was harsh. Predators roamed the night. But every wall they built, every crop they grew, every school they opened, they did it in his name. Not because he asked them to, but because he gave them the chance to try again. In the capital of New Earth, there's a small stone building. Inside it is a simple chair, an old set of armor, a blaster, now rusted, and a message carved into the wall. He was not the last of us. He was the first of who we must become. Across the stars, his story was told like legend, not through government speeches, but around fires, in bunkers, on smuggler ships, in songs, and in the quiet words parents whispered to their children. When they burn your home, stand up in the smoke. Somewhere far from all of it, Xel stood in a quiet forest on New Earth. The wind was cold, the trees tall. She carried a metal box. Inside it were pieces of the past. Rayner's dog tag, a photo of a girl named Sophie, and a small vial of Earth's last soil. She buried them beneath a stone marked with the symbol. Then, she whispered, "Rest now, they remember," and walked away. But that wasn't the end, because one night in the orbit of a black star, a patrol ship caught a glimpse of something on long-range scan. A small vessel. No signal. No ID, but moving, with purpose. A human signature. One that hadn't been seen in years. When they tried to follow, it vanished into a warp tunnel. The pilot whispered, "That's impossible." His co-pilot simply said, "It's him." Because some names are more than names. Some voices echo longer than screams, and some flames, once lit, never go out.